I didn't finish high school. I got some making up to do.
Julie and I saw the movie for the first time when the producer of the movie sent it to me. I hadn't seen it before, and neither had she. We didn't think about flipping the genders for a while. She was just attracted to this one role and thought, I want to play that scene in particular. Yeah. But as I started trying to come up with an idea for why you would want to remake an already beautiful film, there just needed to be a total reinvention, and slowly this kind of bubbled to the surface, this idea of switching all the genders and what that would do to the narrative and what that would do to people's emotional life. So it kind of, the origin was with Julie saying I would be interested in playing that role. It just didn't feel to me like Susanne Bier deserved someone to remake her exact movie that she had already made beautifully. So this kind of gathered steam as we started to think about it.
And I think because the genders were flipped, it then makes there's this kind of a central decision in the film. Then becomes a much more conscious choice. It's about these people making a conscious choice around a certain act, and because it's so deliberate, it calls into it becomes this relationship between these two women and these different choices that they've made, and how they're going to move forward from that choice. It was really interesting and exciting for me to play, because this was a character who had controlled so much of her life and her narrative, and had reached a place where this was something she couldn't control, and she needed this other woman. And so I loved that dynamic. I loved the dynamic had some. At first you assume friendliness, and then you realize some animosity, and then really a partnership, and it was something that I hadn't seen in a film before.
Yeah, two women who live lives that are entirely of their own making, but one has a lot of hold in the world and the other doesn't. And so when those two women come together, how do they, both as tenacious as they are, but one sort of has the cards, but the other, and the other is trying to sort of see what can she work with, what sort of leverage does she have, and how these two powerful women fight each other, and like how do women combust.
And what's the nature of agency? What is agency, and when do you have it? And everyone sort of dances around this stuff. It was interesting. It was, palpable.
And there's another aspect to it which we haven't talked a lot about, which is that obviously the role that Billy plays was played by a woman, and it was a mother who had decided to stay home and raise her child and given up a career. And so that gave me a whole new opportunity to explore ideas that I have about being a father and making a tangible decision to be a child's, main caregiver was an interesting thing, and then partner with someone else and form a new life, and adding an element of his artistic interest. So it wasn't, that was like a real benefit to flipping all of the genders, was it got to, without saying like, hey, this is a gender flip movie, which I don't want it just to be viewed as, it got to explore all of like the nooks and crannies of the wholeness of all of our identities. So I think that's kind of why it's timely.
Well, I just think also too, the fact that Julie could imagine that, the frequency with which women could imagine doing that, and the chances of that getting made have changed radically. So the idea that this could be made, that she could have that idea as an artist, I think speaks to the conversation that we're having right now. So more than like the necessarily content of the movie itself, just the fact that as an actor she can pursue a role that is of interest to her, and we can get it financed, made, and released, I think speaks to some of the changes.
Well, I was thinking about it because of an earlier answer, and I was working on something else. I was working on prepping something else that had a sort of amorphous start date, and then this script like slid under my door, and I read it so fast, and as soon as I closed it, I just like switched gears, and I was like, okay, back to page one. Okay, what's my first scene? And I just started working on it immediately, and I was applying. I really like teachers and school and going to school and learning things and reading books and trying just new things. And I was working.
Egghead.
I didn't finish high school. I got some making up to do. There's a hole in me. And I was thinking about these sort of other kind of techniques, and then I just started applying them to this immediately. So there were some technical things that I was interested in working on, and then, as I said before, there's just you read things and you respond to them or you don't respond to them. I find it's not a totally logical process. It's not a intellectual process. It's just something that you're drawn to that you can't fully explain because it's a little bit mysterious and beyond you, which is why you're drawn to it, because there's something there that's like that you aspire to. So that was where I started from.